morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids. Did I start with you there, Mr. Grizzly? Welcome to season 4 and episode number 433. I'm guessing because it's Thursday of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Thursday shows usually ended either 3 or 8 here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah. Today, recording day, is Thursday, July 25th, 2024, and it's going to be a lovely day here at the Beaver Lodge. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Probably a bit of an emotional show for you today, but because there's lots going on, but we will get to you with that. But first, Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today?
Vastly superior than it was yesterday.
Yay! Although the bar was a little low.
Yeah. Well, yesterday I ran on almost no sleep, and I was frustrated about a lot of things going on in this world, and about how certain Canadian felt he could do whatever he wanted. And I've got something for you about him too, in regards to our topic at hand, Jasper. I'll show you that in a second, but doing much better today. Thank you. Yesterday was basically a total write-off for me. I got off the show, I lied down on the couch, and it took me about 90 minutes before I was able to fall asleep because my mind was racing and reeling, and finally fell asleep, slept for a couple hours, got up, took a shower, got changed, fell back to sleep for a few more hours, then took Lola out, lied down again. It was just a write-off of a day, really, which I hate because it was a vacation day. Losing a vacation day because you didn't sleep the night before is not fun, because vacation days are limited for those of us who work in the private sector, such as I. So, that happened, but hey, what can I do? I can't change the past. I can only augment my future by doing things to make it a little bit better. So today I plan on getting a few things done, and hopefully I can get the rest of the production work done that I have lined up. It's coming along bit by bit, little by little. I just loaded something else up there. I've got a few more. So I'll see what I can do to get caught up. It's not been the kind of week I wanted it to be.
Same.
I'm not the only one in the city or this country who's saying that right now. As our friends in Jasper have lost their town by the looks of it. I don't know what the current status is. There is a news update in about 20 minutes coming from CBC Edmonton. I'll have monitoring here in the background and bring in stuff when I can. I don't know what the status is. I'm told Jasper Park Lodge is burnt. The fire started at the south end of the city in south end of the town, I should say, at Maligne Lodge, which is now gone. And then it hit the Petro-Canada, which, of course, is a gas station, so their tanks blew, which means that it's probably spread throughout the town. I've trying to get different feeds to find out what the status is, but it's hard to get caught up because they had to pull everybody out of it.
Right.
First responders, firefighters had to leave yesterday, so I don't know what the current status is, but we'll find out soon enough. But I did want to show you this because the ire of my topic of conversation yesterday did it once again. This was at 9 p.m., 7, 8, at 10 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Eastern Standard Time last night, basically 8 p.m. Mountain, 10 to 8, truthfully. But this is what Nazi Caillou had to say, and this is just. I'll put it on the screen. I'll read it to you. You make your own decision. I already have mine made. And this is what he tweeted last night. Ottawa has destroyed Alberta parks. Banff was almost burned down by feminist firefighters last year. And this year, Jasper is about to be a memory because they refuse to completely manage the forests. Danielle Smith should confiscate our parks from Ottawa.
I'm sorry, I have no words. That's so stupid and completely uninformed. I can't. The government of Canada manages the park. The provincial wildfire service is provincial.
Yes.
And if we remember, because I have this little article from May 10th, 2023 in front of me from the Narwhal. It says, we are a skeleton crew out here. UCP cuts led to disastrous Alberta wildfire situation.
Now, a lot of people have pointed out that Rachel Notley's NDP did cut the wildfire budget. They did.
Yes.
They did.
But Danielle Smith cut the repellers.
Yes.
The repellers that go down first.
She also cut the number of watchtowers. The folks who used to sit in the watchtowers and would spot fires well before they could get out of control. Yeah, they cut, I think, 27 positions have been eliminated because they thought, well, we had a lot of snow and we'll get some rain and that'll be good.
Yep.
I just don't know what to say. You know, some days, like the amount of anger I have towards this little Nazi shit. You know about that. I expressed it yesterday. I don't feel like expressing it again today, other than saying that he angers me because he wants to blame the Prime Minister of Canada for every single bloody thing that happens in this country.
And he calls himself a journalist, but only covers one side of the story. Because, hey, if he has the ability to find out where the Prime Minister's plane is in the sky, track it, and travel down there, why can't he use those sharp, Skippy air quotes, journalistic skills to tell us where Skippy went on vacation last Christmas?
Yeah.
For example.
Well, nobody's been able to tell us that.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, Alberta UCP government cut tens of millions of dollars from wildfire preparedness program. Danielle Smith is promising a more nimble response to wildfires.
Nimble means non-existent.
Yes.
So according to this article from the Narwhal from last year, let me read this and you tell me if it's déjà vu. The teams tasked with preventing and fighting wildfires across Alberta have been overwhelmingly unprepared for this year's wildfires. A direct result of the United Conservative Party's efforts to dismantle and defund Alberta Wildfire, the province's wildfire prevention and firefighting response unit. Now, this is one thing that I find particularly interesting because, well, Alberta has oil, right? And they keep on lording it over us that all of us would be living in squalor if it weren't for Alberta. Economic data has actually shown that I think it was David Milligan or Trevor Toom. I think it was David Milligan who put out something that said that actually Alberta has been dragging all of us down.
Yes,
actually for like years. They keep on saying that we would all like suffer if it wasn't for their oil and their genius about pulling something out of the ground and then putting it in a pipe or on a train and shipping it out. because that's pretty much all you do. We don't really refine all that much.
There is a refinery there, but it's not that big.
But we don't do that much value added.
No.
Right. We pull it out of the ground, we ship it, and then we buy it back at a higher price. Right?
Yeah, which makes zero sense to me because it's also very expensive to pull out of the ground.
Yeah. And then all the people who do that pat themselves on the back and put their feet up on the desk and say, aren't we financial geniuses and great economic managers? But I mean, there's a reason why we have a productivity issue. Mm-hmm. We don't do value added. But you have all this infrastructure, all this money that's invested. You're in a province, because where you've had wildfires before, you know what the science is, you know that there's going to be more, and then you don't do a damn fucking thing to protect any of that infrastructure. You actually cut your wildfire service. So what if there's a fire in the area where you have some of these oil rigs? Well, does something not go boom at some point? What if the fires are... We just spent how many $1 billion building a pipeline to Tidewater? And then you didn't do a damn fucking thing to protect it?
Yeah.
And now you're going to turn around and say that that's Trudeau's fault too.
Of course.
Right. Since 2019, the UCP government has gutted Albertan firefighters and response teams and their ability to efficiently respond and manage wildfires in this province. Quote, maybe we couldn't have prevented the starts and rate of spread, but we're running at 50% capacity to contain these wildfires, says a firefighting crew leader who's currently working on the front lines of one of the wildfires burning out of control. Again, a reminder, when I say currently, this is an article from 2023. Quote, we don't have enough resources, period. He says his crew requested air tankers and structural protection crews, but received no support. Across the province's districts were scrambling to designate shoestring resources to multi-fire events. Alberta Wildfire was forced to triage, and some wildfires went unmanaged, he says. Quote, you have to be proactive in order to be prepared, the crew leader says, and the government hasn't been proactive for the past 4 years.
Well.
So I'm guessing there was some Kenny cuts too.
There were.
Yes. Then the next little, sometimes in longer articles, they have like subheaders. We all knew this was going to happen. This is the subheader. This is not an unprecedented disaster in Alberta's recent history. For over a decade, nearly identical spring conditions have fueled catastrophic wildfires, including the Flat Top Complex, which burnt over the part of Slave Lake in 2011, the Horse River wildfire, which prompted the evacuation of the city of Fort McMurray in 2016, and the Chuckhagen-McMillan wildfires, which threatened multiple communities in northern Alberta in 2019. So, I mean, this happens every year.
This is not new.
And then they turn around and says, you know what we need? Less firefighting capacity.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
These are the same people that keep on jumping up to a mic all the time and saying, the first duty of a premier is to keep our people safe. I'm going to call bullshit on that. I mean, it's supposed to be your first duty, but you don't actually do it now. Don't ya?
Of course not.
Don't ya? What is unprecedented is the way the government has cut back the department tasked with dealing with exactly these sort of disasters. The UCP government has, quote, whittled away a world-class firefighting response program. Because that's what you do when you're a government. Hey, let's find the things in the province that are working super well, like the LCBO, for example, or the Ontario Science Centre, for example, and let's just freaking destroy it. Wildfire service. We don't need that. Who needs that? Well, it's not like all of us aren't pretty much equally vulnerable to a fire. Right? There's like it's not like, oh, well, fires only happen here, so we don't have to, like, they can happen everywhere. She literally, yes, exactly, Sassy. Danielle Smith is probably so vengeful to Trudeau that she would let it burn. And a lot of people are saying that.
A lot of people are saying that.
Again, that's assuming the absolute very worst of her. Because, mind you, I'm not prepared to do that, but mind you, that takes a lot of effort. Because I really not got much to go on. Because, I mean, she's also the person that said, hey, smoking is good for you. So, I mean, clearly, clearly, if the money is good enough, she'll happily and gleefully be on the wrong side of any issue.
Quentin, you need to be civil to everybody in the chat. If you are not civil, if you are not kind, if you are not polite, we will ban you permanently. So this is your first and only warning. Be civil in the chat. Okay?
Yep. We have rules.
We welcome your input. We do, but you need to be civil. If you are not civil, we will ban you permanently.
Basic house rules. If you're here, we don't have to assume the worst of each other. And we all talk to each other respectfully. If you can't do that, you can't stay.
Simple as that.
Welcome to the Beaver Lodge.
You're welcome to stay, but follow the house rules. If you don't, we will ban you.
Yes, we are happy to have you. But
and we have folks who come on here who have
aggressive at first, and then they get to know the vibe and whatnot, and then that's fine. Like this, it's the internet. I get it. Everybody shows up with their backs up,
and that's fine.
This is not that kind of place.
No,
this is not what we're creating. So
we have folks who come in who are from.
You don't have to do that here.
The opposite side of the political spectrum, and you are welcome to come in as long as we have a civil conversation with one another.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is that whatever the normal stuff that people do on the internet, you don't have to flex, you don't have to pose, you don't have to stunt.
It's not necessary.
Just be yourself. Just be a decent person, and you'll be fine. All right. So basically says that the UCP government had whittled away a world-class firefighting response program. Another veteran lookout observer with over a decade experience under the belt said, quote, Alberta wildfire used to be looked to by other provinces for an exceptional program. Mm-hmm. Shortly after being elected to office in 2019, the UCP government shut down 26 active fire towers, which you were mentioning, Mr. Grizzly, across Alberta. More than 1/5 of the detection coverage in the province. Lookouts are responsible for a 40-kilometer radius of forest. Early detection and investigation of wildfires enables firefighters to put suppression plans in place before wildfires escape into large-scale catastrophes. There are certain things for which you need people. If you don't have the bodies, you can't do the work. And that's part of planning. Yes. And the thing, I understand that sometimes you do all this planning. You remember what we said with the pandemic? When the pandemic was over, your impression was, wow, the government sure did overreact. That means the government did the good job. Because if you think, gee, we did all this for nothing, that means that not as many people as could have died.
That's right. And there's always going to be people who do that, right?
Right. But what happens all the time, it's like, oh, well, gee, we haven't used this service in like 7 or 8 years. Let's cut it back. And then boom, something happens. Go, where's the service? Oh, well, nothing happened for the last 8 years. So we figured we didn't need it. It's like, you always need it. That's part. Canada is over 150 years old. At some point in 150 years, something's going to happen. You want to be prepared. The fact that it hasn't happened in 4 or 5 doesn't mean that it can't happen at all and that you stop putting money towards it.
Well,
that's just dumb.
As evidenced by the cutting and canceling of our vaccination manufacturing facilities under the Mulroney government.
And then we had a pandemic, and then we had screwed. We had screwed because we had no capacity to produce here.
Right.
And then we were dependent.
It's changing now because we're building again. But people had to wait longer than what would be considered normal as a result.
Mm-hmm.
So, thankfully that's changing when we say, that was short-sighted. Just because we haven't had a pandemic in a long time doesn't mean we're not going to have one again. And we have of people warning us that this would happen again.
And more and more and more. Because as the planet is warming, disease travel. There are tropical diseases in other nations that we don't have here. But if it gets warmer, we will start having it here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like the West Nile is kind of far from Ontario.
A little bit.
But and we have West Nile virus.
Yeah.
Things travel. Jeez, that's why all the countries work together in these networks so that when something pops up somewhere, the whole world will know about it, then they can prepare. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to be trying to help each other out here. In an emailed response to questions, Leanne Nibelok, a spokesperson for Alberta Forestry, Parks and Tourism, said at the time the government is, quote, committed to doing everything we can to fight these fires and keep Albertans and their property and homes safe. Well, that was clearly a lie.
Well,
and added Alberta's 2023 budget included approximately $100 million in base funding for wildfire management and another $1.5 billion in a contingency fund for emergencies and natural disasters. Yeah, but is that $100 million enough given that the added risk from increased climate change, global rising temperatures, and it's very nice that you have a contingency fund, But if the people aren't there to spend the contingency fund money on when a contingency happens, or the people are not trained, what do you think is going to happen? Game it out. Right? It's almost like they didn't do a tabletop exercise.
Yeah, you think?
But closures of fire towers has resulted in vast areas of forest and grassland being unmonitored by lookouts. There are huge gaps in the forest, says another lookout observer with nearly 20 years' experience working on towers. Our areas of responsibility have doubled. The problem isn't the people working to manage the wildfires, it's politics. Aerial patrols to detect wildfires burning out of control are also less frequent, according to one lookout. Last week, there was a dry lightning where towers are closed, and there were hardly any helicopter patrols, they say. We all knew this was going to happen. Cuts to Alberta wildfire programming include Repel Attack Program. That's the thing I talked about at the beginning. In November 2019, the UCP cut funding for the Repel Attack Program, or the RAP, a firefighting program in Alberta that ran for nearly 40 years, training crews to rappel from helicopters into inaccessible locations to fight fires. Quote, the decision to eliminate Alberta's wildfire rappel program was made after careful consideration of the specific advantages provided by the rappel crews, the types of wildfires Alberta has experienced in the past, and those we expect to experience in the future, Niblock, the government spokesperson, said in an email. That was a lie. She added the crews were used for initial attack on less than 2% of Alberta's wildfires. So, the rappelling crews are only used on fewer than 2%, so we don't really need them. At the same time as we are getting data that even though the number of fires that are happening are fewer, their intensity, strength, and heat is increasing.
Yeah. Well, Mademoiselle Fox's son, her only son, is fighting wildfires in Alberta right now. I don't know where he is. He was stationed in Peace River. I don't know where he's fighting right now, but he is on a helicopter crew. Now, they don't rappel. They're not rappellers. They literally fly them in from place to place and land and get out. They don't rappel because that doesn't exist anymore. Thanks, Daniel. So I know that if Mademoiselle Fox is watching, because she's in Montreal with her daughter right now, and I honestly hope she isn't watching right now, because I know this would just all of it is just
beside herself.
Yeah,
with worry and
exactly. So I'm not telling her to avoid the news. I'm hoping she does. If I tell her to avoid the news, what's that going to make her want to do? Immediately go to the news, right?
Don't think about an elephant. What are you thinking about?
Elephants.
Yeah, there.
Mr. Stay Puffed. It's literally what happens. So it's like, I'm not saying anything. If she calls me in a tizzy, which I expect may happen if she caught the news, but she is with her daughter and they're doing mother-daughter things, shopping, and I think they went to a drag show last night, and they're just enjoying the city of Montreal and all that it has to offer. So hopefully she's not tuned into the news about what is going on in the wildfire situation in the province of Alberta right now, because if she does, I'm sure it'll just mess her up completely, as it would her daughter, because her big brother is there fighting wildfires. So
yeah, exactly.
This one hits pretty close to home.
Yes.
I was just in Jasper.
Yes.
Mademoiselle Fox was in Jasper with me, with one of my best buddies on the planet. We were there. We were having a great time, enjoying all the sights and sounds. I went up Whistler Mountain, to celebrate the fact that I did that 50 years ago with my dad.
Yeah.
And, it's just, it's all gone now. Yeah. And that's tough to take.
Yeah, we have Kit Christian here who says, I was accepted to the Rap Attack crew back in 2013. Kit Christian, if you have any additional information that you can give us, please do so in the chat. Kit Lindam saying also the Jasper fire is creating its own lightning storm as well, which is just making things worse. It's incredible the way fire goes to such creative lengths to perpetuate itself. Indeed. In 2021, further cuts to Alberta wildfire forced managers to lay off permanent staff at the district level, including wildfire rangers and information officers who were responsible for educating and informing regional communities about the risk of threats and wildfires. So I'm going through this article and I'm telling you all the things that were cut, right? And to go back to how Mr. Weirsley started the show, and this little fucker Kean turns around and says, this is all Ottawa's fault that this is happening. So the Alberta ideologically regressive fuck your feelings party, it's like, we don't care if you're safe, so long as we can transfer more of the public money to our buddies and our friends. That crew do all the vandalism
Mm-hmm.
And then they get all their minions when somebody goes, what could go wrong? And everybody says, these are all the things that could go wrong. Nah, you're just a bunch of nervous Nellies. You're just a bunch of lefties who want all these socialist programs and expensive government bureaucracies because you like to perpetuate yourself. We're going to cut that. We don't need that. And then the thing that we told you was going to happen. And then you turn around and go, well, you guys did it. No, that's you. That's all you. And again, right, we have the stay in your lane people, the Justin stay in your lane people, right? Danielle was there the other day talking to members of Canadian forces throughout Alberta that might be helping out in Cold Lake. It's like, you have no responsibility for defense. What the hell are you doing there? If you're going to say stay in your lane, stay in your lane. Because then, but now it's like, Ottawa, send us some help. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, Ottawa, if you're out there saying, like this, well, all this is happening because of Trudeau, because, these are national parks, so you're supposed to do the wildfire stuff. No, that's not the agreement. It's not the agreement with them. That's not the contract with the provinces. So, clearly you could say other way. Oh, well, gee, if that's the case, then, it's, it's on your land. It's like, you have the wildfire service. Why should you need help from our military? Our military is busy doing military things. You handle it. Ottawa doesn't turn around and do that.
No.
But Alberta turns around and does it, though. Well, not Alberta in this case. The minions. Because Kean is not officially with the government of Alberta. I
got a quick video clip I want to show you. It's 51 seconds from the top of Whistler Mountain, overlooking the town of Jasper. As I, it's just 51 seconds. It's okay. Just here, just watch. It's. I just want you to watch this.
So you can really see your eyes up here in the bright sunshine against the mountain backdrop. Quite high up, as you can tell. What are you thinking so far of the trip?
I think it's been a grand adventure.
You a little tired?
A little tired.
We probably wore you out yesterday on the road coming in.
But worth it. I'm accompanied by two gentlemen who never let me open a door.
Well,
it's pretty sweet.
Gentleman's got to do what a gentleman's got to do.
Drive me around. Tell me where to go. I mean, in a good way. Just to have things organized for you, it's really lovely, and couldn't be a more beautiful spot.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you look, it was beautiful, serene, all that kind of stuff. Now we have Quentin here, who's actually contributing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Well, if you actually want some of my opinion on the wildfires, it's basically this. There's no reason why wildfires should be able to rip through a city of 30K in 2024. We completely agree. There's no reason why it should, but it is. And therefore, you should be asking why. And right now, we are telling you why. There's a whole climate part of it. We do have an El Nino thing that's going on right now. That's a weather thing. Yes. And we have the fact that the people of Alberta have taken their time. They listened to all the arguments. They took time out of their personal lives to go and stand up and stand in line and vote, or to vote early and cast a vote. And those people were elected by the citizens of Alberta, or the residents of Alberta, I should say, to, on their time and their dime, do things that are in their best interests. So if a town of 30K, or a city of 30K in 2024, has a wildfire ripping through it, and the responsibility for managing wildfires is a provincial one, then perhaps the next natural, obvious follow-up question is, hey, people at the province that I invested so much time in learning about and spent time to go and vote for, how did you let this happen?
Mm-hmm. I read a comment earlier this morning. Somebody said, Jasper is a movable town. I said, what? Oh, it's because it has a very transient working population there in the summertime.
Yeah.
Now, here's a couple of facts about Jasper, the town you may or may not know about. Population's about 5,500. It was founded in 1813. How movable is that town? That's pre-Confederation, pre-Alberta joining Canada, pre-everything. 1813 is when the town was founded. So all that heritage, all those heritage buildings, they're gone. It's not there anymore.
Yeah.
That is heartbreaking.
Oh God, yeah. I've been Jasper. You know, when you get off that bus and you're at the center, you know, and you see that big view and you take the pic. It's one of the most breathtaking views I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Right. There's people that go around. Some people go into the center and take a look and all like this. I literally stayed outside the entire time, and it was just like mouth agog. You know, it is gorgeous.
This was the view I had out the front window of the lobby when we did a live podcast from there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah. And here's, again, I want to remind you of for this year, again, the global context, if you put it up, Mr. Grizzly.
Mm-hmm.
This was the Alberta fire danger fire weather map for July 9th.
When I was in Jasper.
Yes. Red is very high risk. Pink is extreme risk. Over 95% of this map, except for this little bit of yellow and green, and this little bit of yellow down here,
is very high to extreme.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all of it.
Yeah.
One question that maybe people should be asking is, between July 9th and 2 or 3 days ago, when two fires in Jasper the two fires, one that are threatening Jasper, just popped up because everything was just so dry, just went poof, as Alberta Wildfire is reporting. What was done between the 9th and then to prepare? Because it seems to me that from what I'm hearing on the news that the Premier of Alberta has been rather distracted with a personal civil war with David Parker and a whole bunch of news that was about to come out and that has come out about her predilection for frickin' box seats. My fellow citizens in Alberta, about whom I care, who a lot of people think I don't care because I might be on one side of the political spectrum, right? And they might be on the other. Because they can't imagine that people on the left could actually care about people on the right, but we do because we care about humans.
Period.
Whether you're right or left, we care about humans.
We don't have to see politically eye to eye to actually give a damn about you. You understand that? I don't want people to be harmed. I don't want people to lose their livelihood due to irresponsibility of a provincial government at any point in time, no matter who that government is.
We are supposed to be electing governments to serve us.
Yes, not their puppet master, wealthy, money-grubbing overlords.
When you get a map like that,
yeah,
and your first instinct is, hey, maybe we should call in all the resources now.
Meanwhile, $1 billion from the province and city of Calgary will go towards building a new rink north of the existing saddle,
with fancier, newer, and more modern box suites for Danny's delicate and soft little tushy.
And of which any revenues generated on site, none of that goes back to the province. It all goes to the owners of the rink and the team. So let me see if I get this correct. Welfare for the wealthy, rugged individualism for the rest of us.
Because you would think that if somebody was making a deal like that in the interest, that would be win-win-win. Interest of the government, interest of the business, interest of the community. And it'd say like, hey, we're putting X number of $1 billion or $1 million into this. So when your profits start coming in like this, the first 10% of them come back to repay that until such time it's paid back. It's still an interest-free loan, but at least the government gets its money back.
Yeah, it's not in this case.
Some time. But this, hey, no, we'll just give it to you. You just take it and run, and then anything that you generate from it, just keep it all to yourself. That is not a decision that's not a decision that is in the people's best interest.
Goodness, no.
Because you, the citizen, get nothing out of that. You pay into it, but you get nothing out of it. And I mean, yeah, if you could afford a ticket, you get to go to a fancy thing, but you get no anything out of it. That's the problem with the LCBO thing going on in Ontario. People are turning around and says, well, it's like the government's just going to lose the taxes. No, the government is also going to lose the markup.
Mm-hmm.
If a store that's not the LCBO sells an alcoholic product, they get the markup. The portion that's alcohol tax goes back. The portion that's provincial sales tax does go, but provincial sales tax is neither here nor there in this particular debate. But the booze taxes go, but all the markup does not go. That's all money that gets taken out of the LCBO. That's all money that when you buy alcohol, you basically reinvest back into yourself, that the provincial government has decided you don't need that money anymore. We have decided, we, your betters who rule over you rather than govern for you, have decided that you do not need that $2.5 billion. Costco needs it more.
Yeah.
Walmart needs it more. When you can be living in the province and not have had a family doctor for 10 years. I've gone through my entire 40s without a family physician. And that fucker Doug Ford is still taking more money out of the province and directing it to people who don't need it rather than making sure I can get a freaking doctor. In Alberta, rather than making sure that people don't have to lose their homes to a fire, they decided to cut that because I guess they had other priorities for that money than making sure that everything that you've worked your whole life for doesn't just go up in about 3 minutes. They don't care about you.
So here's the chart that shows the overall government funding for this new arena in Calgary, which is just north of the Saddle. And I'm not calling it a dome because it's not a dome, it's a saddle. Sorry, I know people get pissed off at that, but sorry, I'm pedantic. $1,183 million from overall government. 69.7% upfront share, long-term cost, 43% share, $537 million. Revenue share for the government is zero. Who gets it? The private sector. 100% of the revenue goes to the private sector. So you're building the rink, Calgary. $300 million comes from the province. The rest comes from the city. You can see it here. $537 million cash for the event center, parking structure, the enclosed plaza, and 25% of the community rink, plus a $316 million loan to CSEC. CSEC is the Calgary Sports and Entertainment Corporation. $330 million cash for transportation improvements, land, infrastructure, and site enabling costs, including off-site and on-site utility servicing costs, public realm and site clearing, demolition, and 50% of the community rink. $40 million cash to offset event center costs, parking, the enclosed plaza, and 25% of the community rink. $17 million a year plus 1% per year over 35 years plus $1.5 million per year to community sports. So basically, it's corporate welfare on a massive scale. A massive scale. The city and the province are paying for a rink that will be owned by a billionaire. And he gets to profit 100%.
Who doesn't need your money?
Like, how did this happen? How did this? I know that when Naheed Nenshi was the mayor of Calgary, he wanted to build a new rink, but he did not want taxpayers to front the bill. And I get that, because they shouldn't. You want a new rink? Then build one. You have the money. You're a billionaire. You don't want to take the money out of your pocket? Then go to the banks. You have the money. Build the new rink.
And if you don't want to take your own money and don't want to pay a loan, then I guess you don't want a new rink bad enough.
Why are, I think the homeless guy on the corner that I walked by the other day when I was in Calgary really is excited about this new rink.
Yeah, he's really excited at the opportunity of paying $11 for a beer.
Yeah. Oh, 11? No. Try 14, my friend. Try 14.
Boy.
They're not. They're about $11 right now in the saddle, but once you get into the new rink, they're going to be a lot more.
And so we got to Christian because we asked him to give us a little more. Rap Attack is specialized and used for specific situations. Honestly, the selective firefighting is dying in the West because it's all burning, not just isolated spots.
No.
Let's see, what else do we have here? I see that Kit Quinton is also including some stuff here about some experience here that's actually pretty good in the chat here. Like that system shows me that no one is at all working on stopping wildfires before they even happen and get terrible. Yeah. Well, I don't know if no one is, but a whole lot fewer people are. That's simply for sure. You can't take that much out of the program, all the things that I've mentioned so far that have been cut. And I'm not even through the article yet. We're going back and forth and we're bantering here, but I'm not through. I'm not through all the stuff that's been done yet. So, there were tons of cuts. Kit Christian adds here, the fires aren't preventable, but managed. Less management means more spread. Drier forest means more spread.
There you go. Beer was $14.75 in the saddle dump last week when I was there for a concert.
Yeah, that's Kit Wade.
Yeah.
Telling us, Mr. Jim, wildfire prevention doesn't pay for itself. It doesn't bring money into the government coffers, so it's a target for cuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Let's see whether...
Same thing with healthcare.
Yep, Kit Quinton again. There's an entire side of this that I think it's important to consider, and that's wildfire is quite natural, and it's usually needed every few decades to renew the forest. Yes. And that's why we have stuff like controlled burns and that type of stuff as well. But this is not your grandma's wildfire.
No.
What's going on right now?
And something I learned recently.
The structure of these wildfires, the intensity, what's happening at the center, the core of it, how hot it gets at the center of it. These things are new. They are hotter. They are more intense. We have fire nados now. Like this, as Linda was mentioning, like this, that they swirl and then they create this dome and actually self-perpetuate. Because at the speed and the intensity, and this is new.
Yes. Well, something I learned recently when I was in Alberta, my buddy was telling me, and I've done a little bit of looking into it. I'm not going to use the word research because I'm not a professional researcher. There are librarians who do that. But I learned that clear cutting, when it comes to logging, clear cutting is better for the longevity of the forest than just picking and choosing. I was like, really? Why is that? He says, well, they discovered something that was interesting. And sure enough, I have found some information online to back that up. When you clear cut a forest, you can plant new trees. When you cut bit by bit, but don't clear cut, and you plant new trees, the new trees grow a little bit and then they die because they're not getting enough sunlight. Because the taller trees block the sunlight. As a result, you get trees that are a few years old, wither and die, and lie on the forest floor. And then what happens? One lightning strike, and you've got a tinderbox right there. There's something to also consider throughout the Rockies. 99% of the trees, if not 100, are perennials. They're evergreen. I don't think I saw a single maple tree or a single oak tree or elm tree. It's almost all evergreen. Basically, it's Christmas trees throughout the Rockies. All of it.
You have to plant a diversity of trees too. You can't just like take a clear-cut area and just plant the same tree all the way through it.
No, that's bad for the environment. That's bad for it's bad
biodiversity all around. Yeah.
Almost everything in the Rockies is evergreen trees, and I've got a lot of photos who can back that claim up. Believe me, I shot hundreds of photos of the Rockies because, it had been a long time. Well, I was there last December and I saw a bit of it, but it wasn't like this time where we actually went camping. We went into them, and it had been 50 years for me, right? Because let's face it, it's usually cheaper for me to fly to Paris than it is to fly to Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
I just happened to get a great deal on Porter. And oh, by the way, Porter's the airline of choice.
Oh,
from
yeah.
here on
You
out.
mentioned that. Yeah, absolutely. Now going back to the article here, but Quentin's got a good story that I want to remind me because I put in. He's telling us he works for the Rocky Mountaineer
Yes.
Rail.
Yes.
He's got a really interesting story that I do want to read into the show.
Just give me a second while I grab a cup of coffee.
Okay.
We'll be
Yep.
right back.
I'll just continue here with the article here.
Please do.
Harold Larson, who worked as a wildland firefighter and crew leader in Alberta for 14 years, has 20 years of experience working on more than 300 wildfires in his career in Alberta, British Columbia, and Australia. He recalls working on a wildfire in the vicinity of the Flat Top wildfire in May 2011, which burnt through 1/3 of the town of Slave Lake, destroying over 370 properties. The fire was considered one of the most damaging and costly wildfires in Alberta's history at the time. Larson points to the Flat Top Wildfire Complex Review, a document produced by Alberta Wildfire in 2012, which recommended the government hire additional firefighters, wildfire rangers, and personnel to be prepared to manage, as Kit Christian said, to manage large-scale wildfires. Those ranger positions created by the Flat Top Review were cut last year, he says. So that was in 2011. He became one of the first unit crew leaders in the province following those recommendations, managing a team of 20 firefighters specialized in sustained action on large-scale wildfires. But Larson left Alberta Wildfire after 2018 season, saying, quote, "I saw that ship was sinking," he says. 6 years ago, firefighter, they were so underfunding the program 6 years ago that they have problems with firefighter retention. Which, again, if you can't retain your firefighters, then what does that do to your ability to effectively manage wildfires?
Mm-hmm.
As well, the UCP government cut back on overtime pay and seasonal contracts. Firefighters in Alberta's like all these little cuts. Add them all up. And what's happening right now is what you get. Firefighters in Alberta's lack of access to full-time year-round employment, benefits, pensions, and even sick days. Quote, "The key to staying long-term in Alberta as a firefighter is sacrifice," Larson says, sacrificing relationships, income, benefits, and even the body. Raleigh Moskaluk worked with Alberta Wildfire as a firefighter on a unit crew from 2016 to 2021. Quote, "For seasonal firefighters, we need to make our income in 5 to 6 months," Moskaluk says. The cuts by the UCP government have resulted in an exodus of experienced firefighters leaving Alberta to pursue careers in BC or with Parks Canada, he says. Quote, "In my 2016 year, our crew only had 4 rookies out of 20 people," Moskaluk says. "By the time I left after 2021, the majority of crew members only had about 3 seasons of experience. Turnover was rampant across the province. Experience is critically important on the fire line," Larson says. Quote, "It can be dangerous having an inexperienced crew and ineffective in terms of fire management. The government has demonstrated zero interest in fixing their crew retention issues. We often brought this up during fire debriefs and year-end reviews with leaders bringing up what people wanted to make the job sustainable for the long term, and nothing happened." So these are the people like this, that all the politicians are there going, and please have a thought for our wonderful firefighters who are working so hard when the fire's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's not, it's like, do we really have to pay you? You need extra training. Can you do that out of your own pocket? We're going to send you here, but I know you need to eat, but we're going to cut your food stipend.
Yeah, basically.
Like stupid stuff like that, right? A wildfire ranger currently employed with Alberta Wildfire agrees. Quote, "Some districts have seen as high as 60% turnover of firefighters in 2023. We can't recruit because we don't have any job openings. Seasonal firefighters who are hoping to turn permanent can't get a job and leave. As a result of cuts and poor retention," I guess somewhere in the back room when the calculator says, well, whenever there's a wildfire and it gets really bad, we could always call in people from South Africa. So we don't need to have the people here. We'll just call them up on demand. We'll freeload off other provinces and other nations who do pay to train the wildfire. Like this, we'll say, just come over here and help us rather than doing it ourselves. That's the Alberta advantage. As a result of cuts and poor retention of firefighters, many of the season's crew leaders are struggling with inexperience on the front lines. Quote, "Our program has lost a lot of experience," says a leader who's running a crew with more first years than experienced returnees. Oh, that's always fun.
Mhm.
Quote, the firefighters, dispatchers, rangers, and all of the frontline workers are doing amazing work, says the Lookout Observer, who watched the fire ignite with no support for hours on end, who continues to stay vigilant in their tower, scanning the horizon for new ignitions. Quote, the blame for the present situation should be put on the politicians who made the policy decisions to make cuts to the program. Boom. So, we have fire going on. It's Canada, so we have lots of fires going on. But in the town of Jasper, it's basically right now the worst case scenario. Sam Sampson from CBC reports that Mayor Richard Ireland said, "This is simply our community's worst nightmare." He says that the neighbors were heartbroken. Quote, like all residents, I feel devastated, shattered. So far, officials don't know the extent of the damage, but verified images show that structures are incinerated. There's an ugly orange glow hovering above the destruction. James Etham, who's with Parks Canada, says there has been structural loss at this point. Quote, I can't confirm how many locations or specific structures. Most first responders were actually told to evacuate Jasper to the nearby town of Hinton. So there was a convoy of RCMP vehicles and heavy-duty trucks filled the highway. The federal government last night said that it would send help to fight the fires. A united attempt to protect whatever's left of the town. A small team of structural firefighters has stayed behind in Jasper to protect key infrastructure and save as many buildings as possible, but it's not clear how long the crew will be able to hold out. It's still unclear how much of the town is gone, of course. Again, more comments from Parks Canada. This is a later news report that I'm reading for here. Says that there's been significant loss. Officials also say the Trans Mountain Pipeline and the town's wastewater treatment plant are now threatened. Residents are anxious to know if their homes are still standing, which is natural. Yes. Right. But apparently there are some verified images now that do show that there are some structural damage. Let's see what else. There were 5,000 residents in Jasper, about 20,000 tourists at the time. They were abruptly told to evacuate on Monday, as we had reported. Hopefully they got to all the tourists. I know that all the residents are evacuated, but we're not sure yet whether all the tourists or hikers are. Yeah. So far that seems to be all I've got from Jasper. There was a request for federal assistance made, according to CTV last night yesterday at 5:14. No, today at 5:14 a.m. It was published, and then updated at 7:13 says that was approved. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced on social media that Ottawa has approved Alberta's request for federal assistance after a fast-moving wildfire hit Jasper National Park at its townsite late Wednesday, quote, we've approved Alberta's request for federal assistance. We're deploying Canadian forces, resources, evacuation support, and more emergency wildfire resources to the province immediately. And we're coordinating firefighting and airlift assistance. Alberta, we're with you. The park's social media account says the fire has caused significant loss within the town site, but specific locations and neighborhoods affected are not being reported at this time. The account for Fairmont Jasper Park Lodge on X said that the flames had reached the hotel's grounds, but the extent of the damage is not yet known. This was at 10 p.m. Mountain Time yesterday. Quote, we are devastated by the situation our Jasper community members are facing. We are thankful that all colleagues and guests have been safely evacuated. We hope the same for all others in the area. The dedication of our first responders and those coming to our aid cannot fully be expressed. We are sending wishes of safety and strength. We can confirm that the fire has reached the Fairmont Jasper Park Lodge grounds. However, we are unclear about the extent of the damage. At this time, we know that parts of the resort remain untouched. Parts of the resort remain untouched. That's at 10 p.m. last night. We are monitoring the situation remotely and will provide more information as it becomes available. For those with upcoming reservations, our reservations team is currently in the process of canceling resort, golf, spa, dining reservations for the coming days. Yeah, you don't say. For more information, blah, blah, blah. As the flames consumed more fuel, officials say the air quality dropped to dangerous levels, prompting fire crews without breathing apparatus to evacuate in the nearby community of Hinton. Structural firefighters stayed behind in Alberta mountain town in an effort to protect key infrastructure. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith issued a statement on social media saying her thoughts are with the evacuees and those still fighting the fire. Quote, I'm heartbroken to see reports that the wildfire has entered the town of Jasper. The safety of everyone is our number one priority, and thankfully the town was evacuated earlier this week. I want to thank all of our firefighters and crews who have been hard at work. See, I told you that earlier, right? Who have been hard at work fighting this fire day and night. If you really want to thank them, fund them. And pay them. The town of Jasper and Jasper National Park have all hands on deck. Alberta Wildfires on the grounds to supporting them. Our government will have more to say tomorrow, but in the meantime, please keep Jasper in your thoughts and your prayers. And right now, as I see her face, all I can think is that $100 million for that Tylenol should have really would have come in handy now.
You think?
But I'm not bitter.
Hey, one of her friends got rich off of it, right?
Yes, but I'm not bitter. Now, Quentin said here, and I want to read it because this is one hell of a story. Because this is the stuff that's probably not making the news. I work for Rocky Mountaineer, and we have already confirmed that the journey between Jasper and Vancouver will be shut down into the near future. No more trains to Jasper, more economic decline. And we also operate a route between Canal, I'm guessing, and Jasper, and they will be affected as well. I might be pronouncing Canal as a francophone and not as an Albertan.
That's how I would pronounce it, yes.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
It might be Casnell or something. I don't know, but you can tell me, Quentin. We also had their luggage already delivered in Jasper. The train that was arriving the night the evac order came into place, but the guests weren't even let off the train as the order came in. They turned the train around and came to Kamloops, marking over a 24-hour train ride because the railroads weren't prepared to have a passenger train going against the flow of traffic. So 24 hours from a 7-hour train ride.
Wow.
In those conditions when I'm sure people were worried. That's...
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing us that story.
Yeah. Because we had no way of knowing that.
Yeah, we would not have known that if that weren't for you. Thank you. Thank you, Quentin. We really appreciate that. And then he says, really look up Alert California. It's a wildfire alert system. Just found out about it tonight. Okay, we should look at that and see. Maybe there's an idea there that we can borrow to help. So yeah, that's the situation in Alberta. In BC, the wildfire crisis has forced hundreds of people from their homes with thousands more under evacuation alerts. There are more than 400 fires now. I think yesterday when we were reporting it, I think it was like 320. So now there are more than 400 burning in the province. Michelle Gomez of CBC reports that the Allen Creek wildfire burning in BC's southern interior has first forced almost 200 residents of the town of Silverton to evacuate. The mayor of Silverton, Tanya Gordon, says that the fire created a wall of smoke around the town. Quote, to be honest with you, we can't see anything. It's a thick wall to the south, to the west. We see the occasional flame through the smoke, but it's pretty smoky. The Shetland Creek wildfire has destroyed 20 structures in the Venables Valley, including 6 primary residents. Meanwhile, in the Caribou, the Antler Creek wildfire is burning just 2.5 kilometers away from the community of Wells. Ed Coleman, the mayor of Wells, says he's aware of 2 homes that have been lost to the fire so far, as well as damage to some nearby mining sites. Quote, the fire is very volatile, but we have extensive resources on the fire. It's so well resourced that we have a fighting chance. The BC Wildfire Service says it expects more evacuation orders and alerts coming in the coming days. So yeah, that's basically what I have been able to gather up until now about wildfires. I'm concerned. I'm frightened because this one is not about to be under control anytime soon. And you know, I'm on Twitter. You know, if you're on Twitter, you see these things in real time as they're happening, and you see how people are commenting about things as it is happening. And there was one I saw yesterday that it kind of broke my heart because they were showing whatever picture they were able to get. And And then it's like, yeah, this is the one. I'm going to put it up. But that's how you put it. You hear things on the news and you think, oh my, that's terrible. Right? From 2,000 kilometers away.
Yes.
And then you see things like this and they hit you like a gut punch.
Yeah.
This is from @thehallowedgold on Twitter. If you would like to read the tweet, Mr. Grizzly.
My brother who lives in Jasper just sent me this picture and a note saying the Jasper Park Lodge is gone. If so, pretty sad to lose such a historic property. The sky is lit up with flames and smoke, and I know exactly where that is. I just drove that road a couple of weeks ago. It's a sad situation.
It's just...
Well, here's a photo that I just put online, and that's the lodge.
Yeah.
That's it right there in the circle. That is what is on fire.
And we got
It's all
here.
gone.
Yeah.
Sorry,
This
I
is the
had to
one
stop.
that I've seen on social media that was going all over the place.
That's the Maligne Lodge. That's at the south end of Jasper.
Yeah.
That
look
was
at it.
last night. Yeah.
Totally. So much fire that you can actually see like the frame, because the frame is more solid wood, standing out
Yeah.
in all of the flame.
That's been owned by the same family for 65 years. So it's pretty devastating. Yeah. It's the town is gone basically.
Yeah.
From what I can tell. I'm trying to get some recent updates, but there's not a lot coming through.
No.
I think it has to do with the fact that they're just not allowing anybody in or out right now.
Yeah. It's hard to get something. It's just all hands on deck like this.
Yeah.
We'll report when we finally get a chance to breathe. There's an account on Twitter @JSJamato, JAMATO. So JSJAMATO. It's a journalist named Sean Amato. Yeah, he is offering some really, really good quality coverage here. Yesterday, his account was rather active with lots of updates. And this was some of the stuff he had here. He's showing an image of a fire truck going in because people had been, the initial first responders that didn't have the breathing gear that they needed were evacuated to Hinton. But it says here, if you'll read the tweet, Mr. Grizzly.
The Jasper station is bleak this hour, but word is they are not giving up. Here are some firefighters headed to town just now to try to save it. More on the way soon, I'm told. The blaze is on Jasper's doorstep right now. And that was 11 hours ago. Now, Here's the thing. All of those people have since been evacuated.
Yeah.
All the first responders have been told to leave.
Yeah. And he's, I guess he's, I don't know if he's a freelance, but right now he's been reporting with the city. He's actually been appearing on City News to deliver updates. The most recent thing on his feed is from 6 hours ago, signing off for the night, staying in Hinton. Thanks for joining me today and the nice comments. Hello, new followers. I hope my post helped a bit despite being an awful day. But let's see what's the last thing that he has to say here. Going to take a second to acknowledge the dedicated journalists out here covering Jasper wildfires, City News, CBC, Radio Canada, Global CTV, all helping each other, working long hours in rough conditions, hanging in late now to provide an essential service. He worked into late in the night. Let's see what we have here. Here he has a small clip of an interview with a Parks Canada official that I'll put to you, Mr. Grizzly, because you have the audio and I don't hear. Sean Amato says, this is what happened in Jasper today that led at least part of the town site being destroyed by wildfire, according to a Parks official. Parks official, his first name is James.
Information officer. Let's just have a look at this. I think I've seen this.
Out of town, the North Fire was getting closer. The South Fire made a significant push, driven by wind and very receptive fuels. There's very, very dry conditions in Jasper right now. The fire behavior was quite intense, starting at around 1 o'clock. Fire crews were witnessing 300 to 400 foot flames, fully involved, continuous crown fire, and a fire spread rate of approximately 15 meters per minute. Out of town, the North Fire was getting close.
So, yeah. Apparently there was a little bit of rain near the gate. Nobody really knows whether or not it actually got in deeper into the park, but it didn't really last all that long. And so did not provide much relief or help, unfortunately.
And I understand that the premier didn't ask for help until 8 p.m. Mountain Time last night when the town was already up in flames.
With that map that we showed from the 9th.
I just don't even.
There we go. We have a Kit RMR. Quenelle is a hard Q with a W attached. So Quenelle instead. As a bon franco-ontarien, I'd say Quenelle. But Quenelle. There you go. See? That's one of those things where you go to you're somewhere in town and it's like, can you tell me how to get to Quenelle? It's like, oh, you're not from here, are you?
Queasnell. Canal. What? What's that? You mean Queasnell?
Yeah.
It depends on where you are in the country. Some words get pronounced quite differently. You remember in the 84 Olympics in Los Angeles, the women's marathon was won by, this is how she pronounces her name, so I'll say it. Joan Benoit.
Okay.
She's from Maine. We would say Benoit.
Yes.
Benoit. I used to work with a guy a bunch of years ago. He said, my name is Bobby Boucher. Do not pronounce it Boucher. I went, okay, Mr. Boucher.
Oh, did he see the movie?
I think that's why he went with Boucher. I think that's why. But he was from New Brunswick.
It's like Hyacinth Bucket. It's Bouquet!
well, and my cousin, whose name is Richor, and I thought it was Ryshore, Richor. No. I saw him write his name once. I must have been 18 or 20, and I went, what the hell is that? He goes, that's my name. I go, I thought your name was Richor. He goes, it is, Richor. I go, that's Richard. Richard. But because it's French, they pronounce it Richard on Quebec.
Yes.
And in New Brunswick, Richor.
Richor. What are you doing? I'm just reshoring my boat.
It's not a bombardier, it's a bombardier.
Yep. Speaking of the system that Quentin had mentioned about California, in California, yeah, we could always adopt the system, but I just mean California has a few bad years, boom, the entire state gets covered with cameras. A university did it to detect wildfires. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So why not? Whoever's doing brainstorming on keeping wildfires from burning down cities is doing a very bad job in Canada lately. We would agree. We would agree, Quentin. Absolutely. All right. So moving on from wildfires, kids and cubs. All right, Mr. Grizzly, do you have something? Can you talk for a second? Because I got to look something up.
Yeah, I got a few things we can discuss. Always have a few things on the burner. I got a program here trying to load, and for some reason it won't. I don't know what's going on with that. I want to show you a couple of pictures here that I did put up a moment ago of I know this is dwelling on it, but I was just here. I was just there. That town is now in ashes. And if you see the lake up here on the right-hand side, that's where the Fairmont Jasper Park Lodge was, because that is also burnt. This is the foothills. This is the foothills of the mountains, which are in the back here behind the lakes. It's all gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. The only reason I mention this is because it resonates with me. Got Kit Tim here. Says, I know a few people with the last name of Guindon. Never pronounce it right for any of them. The only reason I say that is the last foster family I lived in, that was their last name, Guindon. I was like, oh, there's a name I haven't seen in a long time. All right. Moving on to the other big news, which unfortunately is not a Canadian piece of news, but it's an American piece of news. President of the United States finally technically addressed the nation because he's talking to his fellow Americans, but also addressed the world, right? Because the United States...
We're going to get a copyright violation if I show this.
On that one?
Yeah, because it's American news, and anything that has, like, when I have to click off boxes to keep the channel up and operational and monetize it, one of the boxes I have to click is this has never been shown in the United States of America, and this clearly has because it's ABC News.
Oh, it's ABC. Okay, no worries. Then
I'll get you that.
Okay, no worries. I'll get you the global one then.
Then that would be fine because that's Canadian and I can show that. Although it's still questionable whether they'll hit us with it, but if it's a global feed, that might be a little bit different.
Okay. Yeah, I just grabbed the first one that I saw. Sorry, I didn't pay attention to that.
Yeah, no, it is important because, well, at Global News, it's a public, well, it is a private broadcaster, but it's news, so we shouldn't get tagged with it. So how much do you want me to start right at the very beginning? Where do you want me to start with this?
Well, here's the question.
It's
part of me wants
minutes.
Yeah, I don't know if I should show it. You know what? Let's not show it.
Okay.
I was going to show it. I was going to show it all. Well, I want to show some. Okay, let's just start it, and I'll do some because I can say what he said, but I can't convey tone.
Of course.
Right.
Understandable.
So, and that's it's part. Words are only a certain percentage of the message. Facial expression, tone, pace of speech, whatnot. Those are other things. So,
well, he's still the president for a few more months, right? Until January 6th.
Yep. 6 more months.
All right. Let me just it's on the screen for you.
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office. In this sacred space, I'm surrounded by portraits of extraordinary American presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington, who showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think it's more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union is not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. We can never forget that. And I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy? In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this. We are a great nation because we are good people. When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. But there's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now.
I don't know who the sound engineer was on that one, but they need a slap, because all I could hear is the sound of air conditioners in the house.
Yes.
Like, my God, man.
Now,
do something.
Now, personally, I would be happy to play it all because it was a great speech all the way through. So I really recommend that you listen to it. You could tell if you were watching that at one point he put his hand out on the side and almost like grabbed the side. This is clearly a very emotional time. He's literally bracing himself.
Oh, yes.
In order to be able to deliver this. He said,
like what he had to say, though.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was saying this. Like, we could have kept it up because there's no lull in it. There's no there's no part of that speech that doesn't have a line that is quoted, that is memorable. The speech was called Poignant. As I mentioned, I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president, but in defense of democracy, which is at stake and is more important than any title, I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. The great thing about America here kings and dictators do not rule. The people do. History is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. Other quotes, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future all merited a second term. Yes, they did. They did. If he was 60, with all his accomplishments, he'd be breezing through this election. But nothing, like you said, nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. It's the best way to unite our nation. And that creates a compare and contrast moment, doesn't it, with the other candidate? Especially when we're talking about personal ambition. Right? Said when he was talking about Kamala Harris, said that she's experienced, she's tough, she's capable, she's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. And he is on record as saying that choosing Kamala was the smartest choice he made. Quote, "It has been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years. Nowhere else could a kid with a stutter from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. Here I am. And that's what's so special about America." The president then walked out to the Rose Garden, where he addressed hundreds of White House staffers who walked over to the executive mansion to see Biden and share his favorite treat, ice cream. Historical moment. He also had a meeting. He has a meeting with Netanyahu today, which will be interesting. Netanyahu, who addressed Congress and basically was his typical self. The one quote that sort of comes out there is he's sort of like our enemies are your enemies, and ours, like this. And if you stand for Israel, all that kind of stuff. I'm not exactly sure. Let me put it this way. I'm sure that Israel's enemies are common to the United States. I'm not sure that Netanyahu's enemies are common to the United States.
That seems reasonable.
And I will leave it at that for that particular comment. But as we mentioned yesterday, his visit is pretty much going down like a thud at the moment. He should have just not come at this particular time.
Agreed.
Given that was going on. There's no bandwidth for him. So it's pretty much a wasted trip here. Now, his trip is probably more for domestic consumption than anything else, because it's not like there aren't protests in Israel telling him to get his ass out of that seat either.
Did you see
He's
the
not loved at
protest
home.
at the Union Station in D.C.?
And the one on Capitol Hill?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oof. And the one on Capitol Hill, at least the first protests, were members of the Jewish community protesting against it. Not Free Palestine people.
I think they
Jewish people tell them, get out.
I think they crossed a line yesterday for a lot of people. I don't have an opinion on this, okay? I'm going to put that out there. I don't have an opinion on this because I haven't read nearly enough to form one, okay? Mm-hmm. But the pictures I saw at the Union Station in Washington, D.C., where they pulled down the U.S. flags and burnt them and then put up Palestinian flags and spray painted graffiti on the Liberty Bell. Well, not the Liberty, but there was like a Liberty Bell, if you will, not the Liberty Bell, not the Ben Franklin one, and other statues. It's kind of like, whoa, you are not helping your movement.
No.
You are really hurting yourself right now by doing that. That is like not good. It's no.
You can't. No,
you've gone too far. Like I said, I haven't formed a full opinion on it yet because I haven't had time to, but like I'll give you here. Look, I've got some pictures right here. I'll put them on the screen. This is at the Union Station in Washington, D.C. This is not going to win you favor with Americans. Now, that's Netanyahu that they're burning an effigy, but look, they're burning the U.S. flag and they hoisted the Palestinian flag.
No.
That is not going to win you favors.
Nope.
It's just this. No, that's not. There you go. Yeah.
Nope.
This is not legitimate protest. It's criminal vandalism, anti-American, anti-Semitic. We should all stand together and condemn this as outrageous conduct. And you can see from the photos, Hamas is coming. Free Gaza.
Yeah. This
is not how you do it.
Nope.
This is just wrong.
Yep. That's that. Nothing about this. No. There's again. It's one of those things, right? It's like, right, we got media attention. Yeah, you got media attention. Okay, listen. If you want to get media attention, and that's your only, and all means are good in order to get coverage and get the cameras on you, I guess that's what you do. Those are choices you make. But if you want to make friends and build allies and actually want to solve the problem rather than perpetuate it forever, that's not what you do.
It's the wrong way to go about doing it.
It's not what you do. It's like you are never going to convince the population of a nation to be on your side by tearing down the flag of that nation, burning it, and raising the flag of another nation at a place that's supposed to honor people who fought for that nation.
This is not how you do it, folks.
Nope.
Not how you do it.
Yep. Anarchy.
The Freedom Bell, it's called. Sorry, not the Liberty Bell. The Freedom Bell.
Yeah. Oh boy. Ugh. I have another image for you, Mr. Grizzly. This one is a good palate cleanser for this one because this one's class.
Okay, I can go with that.
I think. Oh, sorry. I thought I put the link there for you, but I didn't. I copied it, but I did not paste it. So there you go. It is now pasted. It is a handwritten note.
Oh yes,
from the First Lady.
I did see this yesterday. Let's put this on the screen here, just a sec.
Specifically directed to those who had President Biden's back throughout it all. I'm not sure if you can read the handwriting, Mr. Grizzly, but if you can.
To those who never wavered, to those who refused to doubt, to those who always believed, my heart is full of gratitude. Thank you for the trust you put in Joe. Now it's time to put that trust in Kamala. Love, Jill.
And that, kids and cubs, is how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. On the other side of the ledger, you know how we were commenting yesterday that it seems that Team Trump has nothing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, literally, Trump was on the stump yesterday, and I think they're starting to finally move through the stages of grief that their campaign against Biden is over, and that it's now old man Trump versus the new generation. But all he's been able to manage to say about Kamala is, you've done a terrible job. You've been terrible at everything you've done. You're ultra liberal. I'm guessing that's a new code word for black. And we don't want you here. We don't want you anywhere. Kamala, you're fired. Get out of here. You're fired. So basically, he had to do pretend he was in the boardroom of The Apprentice. And basically, all I can say about you is everything you've ever done is terrible. You're ultra liberal. We don't want you here.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, they've got nothing. They don't have a specific thing. They've got absolutely nothing. Which is kind of interesting. And it seems that the main thing that's going on, at least for the minions, is, as they do often with women, is they like to degrade them sexually.
Well,
so already there have been things like Kamala Harris was a prostitute.
This is just brutal.
There was one from Megyn Kelly who basically accused her of sleeping her way to the top.
And this guy said exactly that.
And
I'll show you the clip. This is going to be complicated because it is a U.S. thing, but that's the only feed we've got. I'll show the clip. I'll have to edit it out afterwards.
Oh darn! Oh no! Yeah. Oh. Yes,
no, we're going to show the clip. I'll just edit it out later, but we'll show the clip for now.
So for the people who are listening at home, you won't have it, but I will try to remember what it is that he said, note it down, and then repeat it word for word.
We will. We'll show the clip live here on the live stream, and I'll have to edit it out later because it will give us an issue, and I'll leave it at that. But you have to watch this. It's astonishing to me that somebody would say this live on the air. I had to watch it twice.
And the part that bothered me,
because I couldn't believe it the first time. I'm like, what?
There are 4 people sitting there, and one of them is a woman, and she says nothing.
She does actually say something.
Yeah.
She does say something, but not enough, if you ask me.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll have a look at this. For those of you who haven't seen this, it's troubling, and I'd say it's a little on the disturbing side, to be quite honest with you. We'll watch this.
Yeah, and then there's the DEI press secretary telling you that the DEI vice president is the future of the party here. And so the future looks kind of dim for the Democrats here, but this is no shocker either. Kamala Harris, she's the original Haktua girl. That's the way she got where she is. And the party's going downhill if it's in her hands.
That was tough. That was harsh.
Okay. So for people who are listening at home, because this will probably be cut, basically said
I'll leave it in the audio version.
No. Oh, you can see in the audio version?
The audio version is different from YouTube. I have to cut it out of the YouTube replay.
Okay. So for the people who are watching the YouTube version on the replay, he's basically saying that Kamala Harris was a DEI hire, and then, of course, insults Press Secretary Karen Jean-Pierre by calling her a DEI press secretary, and essentially says that Kamala Harris was the original Haktua girl, which, if you are not familiar with that, it's a reference to what some people do with the end product of a session of fellatio.
No.
Oh, yes.
No. You're wrong. You got a Haktua on that to get it lubricated, is what she was talking about. It's not the end. It's the beginning.
Oh.
It's the beginning of an oral sex encounter. Haktua. You got to spit on it to lube it up, is what she's saying. So he's saying Kamala Harris blew her way to the top.
Okay. So
no is patently false. She earned everything she has.
Yes, because apparently, right, all the positions she rose to were positions that people had to vote. So apparently she slept with the entire electorate. I mean, my God, if she can do that and prosecute people, I mean, I'm saying that woman can get shit done. Make her president.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if she can sleep her way to the top by banging everyone that she absolutely needs to bang in order to get all those votes to win and still do her job, I say elect her.
Yeah. Well,
that's a person who gets shit done.
Who was it who said years ago about Bill Clinton and the whole Monica Lewinsky thing?
Yeah.
That he was on the phone at 3 a.m. to a congressman when that encounter took place. And he went, the man is working. At 3 a.m., he's on the phone in the Oval Office working with another congressman in another state when that encounter took place. He's like, man doesn't even have time to take a break for that. He was still working when that happened. Jeez. So, you know, if that's the case, we know it's not the case. But if it was the case for Kamala Harris, like, let it go. We know it's not the case.
Yeah, we know it's not the case.
And the fact that this chowderhead said that live on the news, it's like,
yeah.
Wow.
So apparently DEI is what all those white people who, no, you still can't say the N-word.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you still don't have permission. I know you really want to say the word. I know you really do, but you can't.
That's their new N-word is DEI.
So, welfare queen, which was your word for it from before.
Mm-hmm.
And all those other words like this. Now it's DEI hire. You will never have permission to say the word. And mark my words, I have a very, very, very good feeling that if this is the opening gambit, that by the time this is over, especially if she has a wide lead when it comes close to voting day and it seems rather undeniable, I would not be surprised if they just all outright just decide to leave all decency behind and use the B, C, and N words to refer to her on camera, live. They're already calling her a whore.
Yeah.
Right? They got nothing. They got nothing. Everything you've done is terrible. You slept your way to that's all they got. Manufactured BS. They got nothing. And it's driving them crazy. And then you get Megyn Kelly. I don't know if you
I haven't seen it, and I don't.
Oh,
I'm sure it's equally as bad.
It is just. Dr. Naomi Wolf had somebody that said this kind of sexist take from Republican men will not play well. Swing voters who are women are up for grabs. The Trump Vance ticket needs them, and quote, she slept her way to the top, just repels many women and is not an argument. And Matt Walsh, one of those blue checkmark right-wing yahoos, said Kamala Harris got her start in politics by sleeping with Willie Brown. She became vice president because Biden needed a non-white female on the ticket. Now she likely becomes the Democratic nominee for president because the guy at the top of the ticket has dementia. She made a career out of begging for handouts for powerful men, a thoroughly unimpressive human being. I would say that somebody who would actually write that down and then after seeing it on the screen thinking it was a good idea to press send is actually the thoroughly unimpressive human being.
And Megyn Kelly's response
to all of this was, to this kind of sexist take won't play well. Megyn Kelly.
Disagree. She actually did sleep her way into and upwards in California politics, and most women and men may learn that and see it for what it is. Evidence of an unqualified political aspirant getting ahead based on something other than merit. It's relative and fair game. Okay, and your proof for that, Megyn Kelly, is where? Oh, and let's not forget that Megyn Kelly also did this at her job.
Mm-hmm.
Megyn Kelly says she did the twirl before Roger Ailes, too. The former Fox News Channel personality referred to an excruciating scene in the movie Bombshell, where John Lithgow, portraying the late Fox News boss, orders an aspiring news anchor played by Margot Robbie to turn around in front of him so he could eyeball her body. Megyn Kelly, now a television free agent after losing her job at NBC News, released an online video where she, her husband, and 3 women who had accused Ailes and former anchor Bill O'Reilly of unwanted sexual advances watched the movie and discussed their experiences. I was asked to do the spin, and God help me, I did it, said Kelly, a former lawyer who became a primetime star at Fox before leaving in 2016. She said she couldn't help but think of how she had gone from law school, arguing cases before appeals courts, and receiving an offer to become a partner at a firm, to now performing for Ailes.
To now being on X accusing former women of being whores. Oh, Megyn.
Well, this whole thing, she actually did sleep her way into an upwards in California. Okay, prove it. Prove it. Where's your proof? Hey, you know what? I was actually the second man to set foot on the moon in 1969.
Well,
if we're just going to say random shit, why not say that?
Yep. Well, they're doing stuff like this.
Hang on a sec.
An article from the Daily Mail that just appeared July 24th. How Kamala Harris' affair with much older Democrat kingpin catapulted her career, and his prophetic warning about her future prospects in the White House. They're also doing things like this. It's a sign for Harris 2024, sort of like a promo sign that you would have for an election, except showing a woman on her knees in front of a man who's facing her, with her hands strategically placed around the pelvic area. Sorry, was that supposed to say Bobert? Sorry. Let it slip. Well, and then we get
let's talk
video of Judge Joe Brown destroying Kamala Harris.
Eric Trump, I truly hate disloyal people. Your father has cheated on every one of his wives, including your mother.
Thou shalt not commit adultery. But you got Judge Joe Brown talking to someone, and I'm not going to play it, but watch. It says, video reemerges of Judge Joe Brown destroying Kamala Harris. Quote, she used to be a frat whore when she was at Howard University, and she ain't black. That's a black man. These are 2 black men. I will show the visual. I will not play the audio.
Okay.
Because it's disgusting. They're giggling. They're laughing. They're laughing. They find this funny.
Of course they do.
I'm just... You know that thing you keep on pointing out about Mike Tyson saying that
not enough people get punched in the face. Yeah.
The internet's forever men who are doing this.
Oh, we won't forget. Your daughters won't forget. Their friends won't forget. Your nieces won't forget. Your mothers and grandmothers and sisters won't forget. Your coworkers, your female coworkers won't forget.
Your brothers,
and we'll remind you every time.
Your nephews, your sons.
Nobody's going to forget this.
Because when everybody talks about these things, right, there was this meme that was going on saying, it's like when you talk, degrade women like this, your daughters and your nieces and your mothers are listening. It's like, yeah, boys have ears too.
Mm-hmm.
Boys have ears too. You're not only modeling that behavior for women and young girls, you're modeling that behavior for young men. This is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. And you know what? There's here, Kit Linda M says in our chat here, all their mothers and wives and daughters and nieces will be quietly voting for Kamala. And that reminds me of two stories, two of the podcasters that I particularly like are the Daily Beans pod and Beau of the Fifth Column.
Mm-hmm.
And Beau of the Fifth Column has this interesting story about how it is like to live in the South. And he talks about women. And, women out in public all do their dutiful thing. And, they maintain in public, but when it comes time to vote,
so
right,
I'm
it's
sorry,
different.
I have a thought here. So who was one of the speakers at the RNC this past week? Amber
Rose.
Amber Rose, thank you. Amber Rose, who started Slut Walk LA.
Yep.
Amber Rose, who in a video a few years ago was walking home in the morning and somebody said, oh, is that the walk of shame? She says, it's the walk of no shame. This is the I got laid parade. So her sexuality is celebrated and she's allowed to celebrate her sexuality and then get marched out and say that the Trump team is supporting everybody and believes in all of this, which we all know is a bald-faced lie. And I'm bald with a face. It's a bald-faced lie. Well, come on, that's funny. So she says and does all of these things and gets marched out and does a speech at the RNC about equality and people are included and they care for everyone. And then the moment Joe steps down and Kamala steps in, they suddenly start slut-shaming her. Do you not see the level of hypocrisy here? The level, look, we've got, our opposition in this country is no different. They're just as bad as the level of hypocrisy. But this one, this one is just striking because it was just a couple of days ago she said these things. And now that it's a woman that's running, a woman of color, an accomplished woman of color, a highly educated, accomplished woman of color who grew up in Montreal, yeah, now they come for her sexuality.
Yep.
Every one of them are goddamn hypocrites. Every single member of the GOP is a hypocrite.
I would not disagree. And the other one, so, he was saying like the ladies in the South will talk around the table and all that kind of stuff. But, and they'll tell their husbands, yes, we're definitely voting Republican. But when they go in that booth, they go there and they tick the other box. And they quietly put that vote into the box.
Mm-hmm.
And then they pull the curtain and then go back to leading their lives. The other one is from Alison Gill, Dr. Alison Gill, who's the host of the Daily Beans. And she keeps on telling stories about her mother, who would take her to the polling station when they used to vote. And before she would go in, close the curtain, says, remember, dear, in here, no man can tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the ledger, you got J.D. Vance, who apparently he's making some comments like, if you don't have children, then you don't really have a stake in the future of the country, should you? So maybe your vote shouldn't count as much. Yes. And there's video of past speeches where saying, give every child a right to vote. Yes, and let the father control the vote. So in other words, go out there, make 13 babies, and then dad, instead of one person, one vote, it's one person, 14 votes for you. And if you happened to have a child, but you adopted it, well, that's not the same as having actually delivered one. So you don't get as much rights. You don't need to vote. You don't have a stake in the future because, it's not actually your biological child.
Mm-hmm.
Or you didn't have a child. Or on the other side of the spectrum, well, So what if old people in seniors' homes don't get to vote this time around? I mean, they're only going to be alive for 5 or 6 months anyway.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's okay.
Which goes back to the day of the pandemic. Oh, I'm sure that there's a lot of old people that would be happy to die if it meant preserving the economy for the future of their children. This is eugenics.
Yes.
The things that are coming out of people's mouth right now.
It's astonishing. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. Let's start to wrap it up if we could, sir. We're approaching the 2-hour mark, and I do have some things I have to get done today. But I do want to run something by you that the press release from about 2 hours ago from the CBC, there's a comment. So I'll show you the first tweet, and then I'll show you the follow-up by Luc Lebrun. This is interesting. And somebody else tweeted something along the lines of, well, actually our friend David Moskrop said, I'll tell you what he said in a minute. So Loblaws Companies Limited and its parent company, George Weston Limited, say they have agreed to pay $500 million to settle a class action lawsuit regarding their involvement in a bread price fixing scheme. Luc Lebrun, these are the same people behind the plot to privatize alcohol sales in Ontario. Why would anyone trust a company that gouged families on the price of bread to have any credibility on lowering the cost of beer and wine? David Moskrop said, so instead of putting people in jail, they pay a fine.
Yep.
And $500 million is a ton of money to you and I. But to that company, that's lunch money.
And this is all, I think, No Frills is associated with Loblaws, right?
It's all part of the same thing.
No Frills recently, I think, had put out something encouraging people not to go to farmers markets.
Yeah. Oh, and
then the next day, a couple of days later, oh, no, sorry, we didn't mean that. We really support farmers.
We
The
need to
first
address
instincts are always bad.
We need to address one more thing here. They've just expanded powers to treat patients. Pharmacies.
Yes.
Pharmacists can give out more drugs and treat patients. Oh, did you know that when they do that, Galen Weston benefits from it and profits from it? Because the pharmacists aren't getting any extra cash, but the pharmacy owner is. Shoppers Drug Mart is the parent company, as an example, one of many. Doug Ford is selling us off to private industry, our public health care. Now, look, do I think it's a good idea that we can now get prescriptions for things that, like I have eczema and I have rosacea. You can see the rosacea is acting up again.
Yeah.
So instead of getting an appointment with my doctor, I can go to the drugstore and say, I need this and this. And they know what it is and they can do it.
And it's a condition that you had and you had for a while, and this is the condition, this is the treatment.
So it's in that respect, yes, it makes my life a little bit simpler. But you know what I can also do? Without having to even do that, I can just call my doctor and say, here's my situation. He'll go, no problem. He can literally send a fax. Well, actually, I guess an email now. I think they've changed it so you can send PDF emails of a script to the pharmacy that I go to. I can walk over there and just pick it up instead of having to go to the pharmacist and say, I need this. Right. So, right?
Right.
But it's an established thing. If all of a sudden I developed a new rash and went to the pharmacist and said, what the hell is this? He'd go, here, try this. Well, wait a second. Maybe we should go to the doctor first and find out what it is.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's like doctors are not pharmacists. Pharmacists are not doctors. Pharmacists know more about the medications that are being prescribed because they actually study the chemical compositions and all that kind of stuff. Doctors, right? So you need both. And so these changes are going to allow pharmacists to continue to do things. So treating and prescribing things. So there will be 14 new common ailments such as sore throat, calluses and corns, mild headaches, shingles, and minor sleep disorders, including insomnia. Ordering specific laboratory tests and performing additional point-of-care tests such as strep throat testing to make it faster. Administering additionally publicly funded vaccines at pharmacies, including tetanus, diphtheria, pneumococcal, and shingles to increase access to care and save a visit to doctor's office. Allowing pharmacy technicians to administer additional vaccines such as hepatitis A, B, rabies, meningococcal, and human papillomavirus. Identifying barriers in hospital settings that limit pharmacists from ordering certain laboratory and point-of-care tests to make it easier for people to connect to care, and improving the majestic program to support health outcomes and reduce unnecessary service duplication. Here's the thing. I would prefer to go to a doctor, but I don't have one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess I would appreciate the convenience of having to be able to go to a pharmacist, but I would rather go to my doctor.
Yes.
So we're in a situation now because they've engineered it this way, such that it's like I got a strep throat. Oh God, that means I need to go to a walk-in clinic. That means I need to sit there for 3 or 4 hours for a strep throat. I know what it is. A walk-in clinic. If I go to emergency, or if I go to the day hospital, right, it's more. But
urgent care centers.
Urgent care center. That's what
we need more of those.
Exactly. Like this. But if I go to the walk-in clinic, I'm usually there for about 2-3 hours. By the time you check in and go, this. Well, it's just a strep throat. I'll go tomorrow. It's just a strep. But strep can lead to other stuff.
Yes, and we oftentimes just, I don't
have the time, or I got too many things to do, or I'll go, right? So, yes, going up to the pharmacist and say, hey, standing in line like for 10 minutes, hey, I got a strep throat. Okay, no, right? Clearly more convenient. And you know what? If we had a full system of complement of doctors and whatnot, and everybody turned around and says, doctor says, yeah, we don't really need to do this. This could be done. That would be one thing.
If they stop cutting healthcare, if they funded healthcare like they're supposed to, instead of cutting the budget and going, look at all this surplus we have.
Yeah.
Which you're going to spend, almost $1 billion on a spa that nobody asked for?
Right. So, but the reason why we're doing this additional convenience, that we're spinning it and marketing it as convenience, is because we don't have the doctors. So this is not a situation where we've sat, you know what, we've got enough doctors, but hey, let's see if we can make this more convenient for the average citizen. Doctors, pharmacists get together. What are things that you don't really need? Like, remember the days when you said, oh, I need this. Well, you have to come in and see me. It's like, why do I have to come and see you? So that you can just run my OIP card. Get yours. Like, that was the complaint back in the day.
Yes.
It's like, let's say, for example, it's a herpes outbreak. It's the same thing every damn time. Can I just go? It's like, no, we only give you 3 refills. Why do I have to go back to you?
Yes.
And have the province pay you another $35 to write a script for the same damn thing? It's like, once you have the herpes virus, you have it. You get a cold sore, you get it like this. You're always going to need at some point.
Well, that's what shingles is. Herpes zoster.
Also, yeah, exactly. You're always going to need at some point that drug at some point in your life. So why do you have to keep on going to the doctor's office? Now, had it been done that way, yeah, hail. This is wonderful. But the only reason is they're trying to slough more work onto the pharmacists because we don't have the doctors to be able to treat people.
This is a smoke and mirror shell game thing that they're doing to us. Right?
But look at this. This is convenience and whatnot. No, it's not convenience. It's we're scrambling.
And the private sector's profiting off of us once again, the public purse, because OHIP is paying them to prescribe the medication. So they get twice. They get the prescription fee. They get as they always would for any prescription. They get the fee for selling you the medication, and then they get the fee from OHIP for the prescription. So it's a triple shot. And as I've said many times before, if you take a look at what is happening in the province of Ontario and the province of Alberta, for that matter, is how the conservative governments in power are slowly whittling away our sacred public health care and selling it off to the highest bidder because they don't give a damn. They don't get, and you can join one of Galen's, was it Maple Clinics, I think it is, for $450 a year, $495 a year, and you get to see a doctor right away, but you'll pay $50 each visit on top of that. No wait times for a doctor. All you have to do is just pay up front. That is not how our system was designed to be.
Which pulls doctors out of the public system, the doctors that we need to service.
Now they have
That's a problem in Quebec right now.
They have a system like that and there's a lot of private healthcare in this country and has been for a long time, as Keith Bogue pointed out to us some time ago. But they have a system like that, a 2-tiered system in Switzerland. But, and here's the big but, I like big butts, and I cannot lie when it comes to this. I got to give you a try. The Swiss model, the way it works is public gets funded first. There is, if there's not enough doctors in the public system, they will pull them from private and make them do a stint in the public system because they are properly funding the public system first. The private system is there. It's a two-tiered system. It does exist, and it works very well in Switzerland. But the public system also works incredibly well.
Yes.
We have a broken public system here, and they're trying to parachute in the private to look like it's a rescue for us. Look at this.
And they call it innovation and modernization.
The benevolence of our overlord, Sir Galen Weston, Lord Weston, has come in to save us. If he makes a profit, that's okay. You'll never use your credit card, but people are already using their credit card, Doug. They're already using it, and we're paying more for private services on the public purse than we would in a public system. It's been proven time and time again. The numbers are there. They all show it. We need to put an end to it. And on that note.
All right. A couple of other things before we go, Mr. Grizzly.
Yes, sir.
Because we were talking about, this was the article I was looking for. Again, hold your breath. It's from the Western Standard. But reports up to 10% of Alberta's oil output at risk from wildfires.
Yes.
Nearly 500,000 barrels per day of oil production, about 10% of its entire output, could be at risk due to wildfires in northern Alberta. And already financial analysts are baking in the possibility of curtailments depending on the severity and length of the fire season. Fires are already within 10 kilometers of 380,000 existing production. That was that's yesterday on the 24th. And it has the potential to impact the North American oil market and impact exports to the U.S., which presently brings in about 4 million barrels per day. In a note to clients, Manhattan-based investment bank Goldman Sachs noted a third of Alberta's 177 wildfires, 59, are considered out of control. Quote, rising concerns over spreading Canada wildfires have not materialized into severe production disruptions yet, with our Canada production now increasing in July in line with our expectations, the bank said in a note. The only major producer to reduce output levels so far has been Suncor's 200,000 barrel per day Firebag field, but it remains online. Other producers like Calgary-based MEG Energy have begun evacuating non-essential personnel, but haven't yet been forced to shut in any volumes. Likewise, Imperial Oil has evacuated some staff from its Carroll oil sands mine. Shut-ins from fires are common in summer. In 2016, more than 1 million barrels per day was shuttered for almost 2 months after the town of Fort McMurray was devastated by fire. In a report filed with regulators last year, Suncor said financial losses could top $56 million per day if it was forced to shut its base mine just outside the city limits as it did in 2016. But even with the latest outbursts, the fire season is a fraction of what it was last year. Alberta has experienced 690 fires so far in 2024 compared to 840 at this point last year. Only 183,000 hectares or 452,000 acres have gone up in smoke, barely a tenth of the total last year, and more help could be on the way. Now, the only reason I am bringing this up is, as we mentioned again, right? Because they won't put the money into being prepared for wildfires to save a little bit on the line item. And that puts at risk 10% of the production of oil. How much money is that? In terms of royalties and whatnot, that comes back in terms of jobs, in terms of employment, tax revenue, income tax, all of this. They are willing, in order to own the federal government, to let go of the thing that is the lifeblood of the province, the thing that they lord over us all the time. If it wasn't for this thing that's in the ground, you'd all be poor. If it wasn't this thing, you'd all be freezing. And they won't protect it.
Nope.
And Alberta doesn't have the most diversified economy in Canada. It has one of the least diversified economies in all of Canada.
And they're trying to
but it has one of the least. So if you take out your number one industry because you're not even willing to spend the minimum amount of money that it is to prevent it from going up in smoke, and oil burns, what are you good for? What are you good for?
What have you done for me lately?
How is this nothing but gross negligence or depraved indifference? And again, I don't know if I'm not following him all the time, but I have yet to hear Pierre Poilievre say one thing about these fires.
He won't. Oh, he
No
might.
sympathizing with the plight of Albertans. No, nothing. I haven't heard
say he
anything from
won't,
him yet.
But actually, he probably will, and he'll blame the Liberal government for starting them like he did last year in the House of Commons, who literally said out loud in the House, started by your government.
I know.
He said that.
I know.
You don't back down. You said it.
Yeah.
You said.
So we are going to wrap up soon, but we're going to wrap up on a positive note.
Good.
Well,
I need
positive-ish note.
Okay. Whatever that may be.
Well, some Olympic news.
Oh, okay.
So there were some matches yesterday that happened, and mostly yesterday was some rugby sevens and some soccer. Great matches, lots of stuff going on. That was great. There was one incident, however, for some reason. There was a match between Morocco and Argentina. Argentina World Cup champions at the Olympic tournament. And it seems that for some reason, and I can't exactly tell why, but Morocco was leading 2-1, and then Argentina scored some type of goal, which was disallowed eventually. But I think not before a whole bunch of people in the crowd actually stormed the field, and the match was actually suspended for about 2 hours.
Wow.
Kind of weird.
Yeah.
So that happened. We also have the situation with the drone.
Yeah.
Team Canada. 2 people were sent home. There were 2 things that Devin Heroux made clear. Says there are 2 things going on, right? There's the cheating aspect, and then there's the legal aspect. France actually has some laws with regard to flying drones, and considering, it's the Olympics and it's a big event and people like to do stuff at big events for attention, and while drones are a good way to do that, it's probably some additional restrictions to flying drones.
This is all bad.
When you go to another country and when you engage in a certain activity, it's probably good to familiarize yourself with the laws of the country to know you're not doing something illegal. So, for example, when you're going to Singapore, probably don't spit on the ground and don't chew gum. Right?
Yeah.
If you go to France, don't bring your drones with you to have some fun, because they got different rules. So one of the 2 actually sort of like pleaded no contest and whatnot. I did, and actually left with an 8-month suspended sentence.
Wow.
So this was not only cheating, it was criminal. So the team has lost their video analyst, because he was the one doing there. One assistant coach that he was reporting to, the assistant coach says that she did not know that this was happening, but she's gone too, because he reported directly to her. Bev Priestman, the coach itself, will not be coaching the match today.
That's right.
Because just for, again, public says, no, I didn't get any information out of this, but because people think that I might have gotten some information out of this, I will stay away from the coaching bench, and none of that information will be used. Now, of course, if she had gotten information, nothing would have stopped her doing all that information, dumped to anybody else and whatnot. But it's the semblance, it's the optics. Now, Bev Priestman has a reputation, because she's been a coach for a long time, and it seems that every other coaches and the other staff that's worked with her said this. I would be very surprised if she was in on this.
Right.
The big question was, is she in on this? Because everybody, when she was saying, it's my team, everything that happens is my responsibility. I take responsibility. People, yeah, but the question is, did you know? She said, I did not in any way know about this or support or encourage this type of thing. Is the sort of comment that has come. So 10:30, I believe this morning. I'm not sure if 10:30 is the actual start of the match or the pregame, a little bit of the pregame show. But Team Canada versus Team New Zealand will be on the pitch. It's the first appearance of any Team Canada at the Olympics. So the match will start at 11 specifically, according to the schedule that I have here. There will be it'll be the first match for women's soccer, Canada, New Zealand.
To the pub.
Yes, and Spain and Japan will be playing at the same time. Canada is in a pool with 3 other nations, France, Colombia, and New Zealand. Pretty relatively tough pool, but should be interesting.
It's all on the
soccer.
CBC.
Yeah, it will be all on the CBC, so get ready to tune in to watch that, to cheer them. Hopefully, this incident won't be too much of a distraction. On the upside, it seems that the team from New Zealand believes us that we had no idea that this isn't going on, whatnot. So it seems that the maximum that they're asking is like for FIFA to say that like if Canada wins the game, that they don't get the ranking points. That would go as a result, but they're not seeking to get Canada disqualified from the games. And it seems that it was the head of New Zealand soccer, if I'm not mistaken, that was sort of like reporting back himself in his own words. It's sort of like, oh yeah, Canada was really embarrassed by this. So it seems that, like I said, the New Zealand team is very, very, very convinced
she had nothing to do with it.
That she had nothing to do with that. Team Canada was not going to had anything to do with it. But it's like he seemed to have been impressed with how embarrassed we were, and he seemed to have gotten the sense that it was genuine. It was the chef de mission of that.
Mm-hmm.
A little couple of extra updates because I'm looking at his Twitter feed right now. There was a new statement. A change to Canada's women's soccer lineup ahead of the opening match versus New Zealand. Jade Riviere has been ruled out due to an ankle injury. So Shalina Zadorsky will replace Riviere on the roster for today's match. I'm told that Bev Priestman will not be at the stadium at all for the game. So not even like not coaching, just not even in the stadium, just anywhere. She'll stay back at the hotel. So they're really, again, with conflict of interest, avoid the conflict and all semblance or like this. So she's staying so they're really taking extraordinary measures, and she imposed this on herself.
Mm-hmm.
This has not been imposed by somewhere else. So those are about the latest updates going on there. So hopefully all the players, both sides, will not be distracted by this in any way, and they'll have a great match. And somebody pointed out something yesterday, that another thing that makes this incomprehensible is that Team Canada is the number 8th ranked team in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
New Zealand is ranked 28th.
Yeah, so why? What benefit is that? It doesn't benefit anybody. It's just harmful.
Why?
I don't know.
Kits and Cubs never want to win so badly that you are willing to sacrifice all of your integrity and dignity and risk even getting a criminal record.
Yeah.
Never want to win.
It's not worth it.
All right. Those are my words of wisdom. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
We do indeed.
All right, Kits and Cubs, that's the end of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring, and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. And a little hello to our newest kit, Paul, who we were talking about the Olympics, and I led him to our interview to Devin. He listened for the first 20 minutes and said, listen, I'm missing a couple of reference, but you guys are great.
Thanks.
I guess. And then based on just 20 minutes, sent us a tip.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
So thank you.
Very much.
Thank you, Paul. Welcome to the Beaver Lodge.
We can never have too many Pauls.
Nope. I have so many Pauls in my life right now that every time I say Paul, my Beaver sweetie looks at me and goes, which one?
Well, and Bridget all the time is like, when I say Jennifer, she goes, which one? I go, okay, look, the default is my sister.
Yes.
Anybody else will be preference with their surname or Jenny from the block, or you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, okay, still does it. Which one? I go, again, the default is always my sister. If I don't preface it with my friend Jennifer or my friend from work Jennifer or Jennifer that you met, it's always my sister.
Yep. These are the Pauls I know. These are the Jens I know.
It was a very popular name in the 70s.
And of course, we have our own Jennifer, our own Jen.
Yes, she's right here.
Hello, lovely.
What's up?
Mwah.
keeping me smelling lovely with some wonderful fragrances.
Yes. Lord of Misrule.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
Yes. Since we're doing it, let's do a little plug there.
Well, James is a big fan of Lord of Misrule too.
And
that's
a little
his favorite.
There. A little behind the ears.
I don't put it behind my ears.
Actually, you know what? If I really wanted to attract someone, this would smell like bacon. And then I would put it behind my ears.
That was a commercial from a few years ago where a woman was in a nightclub with her friend and she had her purse on the table. And the woman goes, "Do I smell bacon?" She goes, "Yeah, it's how I meet guys." And all these guys will start walking up. "Hey, what is that alluring flavor? What is that wonderful scent?"
Oh,
she had bacon in her purse. Now you've heard of walking bacon, right?
No.
So it was a thing online about a year or two ago where somebody says, I was getting ready to head out, and the server said, "Would you like some walking bacon?" And he went, "Walking bacon?" Yeah. So, you have a couple of strips of bacon in a bag and you can walk along and eat it as you go. I was literally walking Lola the other morning and a woman walked by me with a bag of walking bacon and she was eating it. I thought that is awesome. Walking bacon.
Oh my God. See, they already beat me to it because as soon as you said walking bacon, I imagined, taking a bacon strip, like threading it with a skewer. Like, what is it? It's bacon on a stick because everybody thinks that food tastes better if you put it on a stick.
Well, bacon just tastes great to begin with.
Whatever. I got a new invention. What? Bacon on a stick. I like it. Let's do it. It's bacon, but on a stick.
Right.
Yeah. Remember that sharing is caring, kids and cubs. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. And you can do that by directing them to our pod page. Thanks to the Ray Girl, we have one. podpage.com/TheTrueNorthEagerBeaver with the lowercase letters with hyphens between each one of those words. Or you can just scan that QR code that just appeared underneath my chin. And when you click subscribe there, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. If you'd like to support us in other ways, please surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube channel, where we have some buttons for you to lick, click, and flick. Like, share, subscribe, click 1, click 2, click 3. Tell your friends. Invite your friends. Have them all join the party. Hey, it's a good time. Like Elaine, and smash those buttons. And have a beyond awesome day, everyone, she says. And if you would like to support us in other ways, that QR code by Mr. Grizzly's head right there brings you to our coffee page, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver lowercase letters, all in one word, and you can do like Kit Paul has done and leave us a little something if you like the quality of our show. And, or if you like us, right? Maybe you didn't like the show today, but you still like us. Either way, we're not picky. If you want to leave us something, we'll be very grateful. And notice, again, we've confirmed with our labs here at the Beaver Lodge that tipping is indeed sexy and increases your sex appeal by 37.2%. So, just so you know. We got everybody talking about candied bacon and maple bacon here, and I'm hungry right now. I think I should not mention bacon before ending a show because then it makes my tummy rumble.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that one.
All right. Let's see. What else do we have? Because democracy is something that you do. Please, if you live in the provinces where we have some provincial elections coming, do so. Again, if you would like to support wheelchair basketball, please look up for their T-shirt. They're being sold for $35 each, and you can support our para athletes that way. Very, very important that we do. Yeah, they're going to be working hard for us, so let's work hard for them. All right. We'd love to hear from you. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is our email address. You can reach us at TrueEager on our Twitter feed. You can reach us on our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver, or leave us comments on our YouTube page. We try to read everything, and we thank you because you bring a lot of stories to our attention. And
if we don't respond, please don't be offended. If we don't respond, please don't be offended. We do read everything.
Yes.
We might not get a response. You might not get a response as quickly as you hope, and we apologize. It's really busy.
Oh, Kitland M. Make crispy maple bacon, grind it up in a food processor, then sprinkle it on popcorn. Sorry. Oh, I love you right now. I love you so much right now. All right. So we did how you want to reach us. So I guess we're saying kids and cubs. It could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And we know that the news is going a mile a minute right now. And it's like we're white knuckling it and holding on for dear life. There's just so much news. So if you have an opportunity to go outside and take a breath or, stick your hands in some dirt and play with earth for a while or something, touch some grass, go ahead. Take some time or just have some turn everything off and spend some time with a kitty or a doggo, just nose to nose and, having some fun. Or children. Spend some time with children. Anything to lighten the mood. All right, because it's a little heavy. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom for us, please?
Listen to your body when it tells you to do something. Right now, my body's telling me to do something. I'm not going to share with you what it's telling me to do, but I have to go do it.
I think he needs to go to the water closet.
Desperately.
All right. So I could do something and talk really slowly
I'm
to
between the
make
cock
the
right now.
But you are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors. The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.